Now we're cooking. I just restarted the YouTube channel. And now it's telling me excellent condition. Thank you. Okay, I think we are through with technical difficulties for today. And so I will now switch to our regularly scheduled program, which is doing some Rails coding. What I've been doing lately is mostly upgrade Rails for the dashboard application that I created for the customers of our managed hosting company. And so far I was able to upgrade from Rails 6.0 to 6.1, from there to 7.0, from there to 7.1. And today I'm going to do the final step for the time being, which is going to be upgrading to 7.2, and I'll show you how I go about things doing that. Let me see. Here's my screen. Let me hop over here, and I will scoot over a little bit. Yep, okay. So I'm running a Docker-based development environment here that runs all the auxiliary services like Postgres and Redis. We also need a Chef server for testing, because Chef is responsible for automating our hosting infrastructure and gets a lot of information from the hosting dashboard. For example, when customers add domain names to their websites, that needs to be reflected at several places and locations in our hosting infrastructure. We need to get SSL certificates for these domains. We need to configure them in our proxy servers and stuff like that. So Chef and the dashboard are tightly connected. And of course, it also needs to run the application itself. So let me see if everything is actually up. Yes, that looks quite nice. Everything has been up for a minute or so. So let me see if I can run the test suite, which I can do with the ABE command, which is a simple script that goes into the application container. And from there, it runs, for example, the rake task for the whole test suite. And that should hopefully give a successful result, because I'm testing this on my main branch, which is up to date. So this is supposed to finish successfully. Let's see if that's the case. We already passed security and style tests successfully, and now we are running the actual RSpec based test suite. And so far, so good. And having a proper and hopefully pretty complete test suite is an important prerequisite for doing Rails upgrades easily, because that test suite will, of course, be able to tell you quite quickly if something has broken, for example, because your code is still using deprecated and now removed functionality. So if you've been using deprecated features that have been removed in the new version that you're trying to upgrade to, then your test suite will probably and hopefully tell you quite quickly that that's the case. So far, it isn't the case. Everything seems to be running quite nicely. So give me a second to grab new branch name for the upcoming upgrade. So where is that? Too many browser tabs. Here we go. Those are done. Upgrade Rails to 7.1 is still in testing. Haven't we pushed that to production yet? That might actually be the case. So that's the first thing we should do, actually. Give me just a second to make sure. So we are running the branch or commit FB39. FB39 is the latest. Version that we have, which has been upgraded to Rails 7.1. Then I hit a few issues with CI or with deployment because I had to introduce a new staging environment. But staging should be running in 7.1 already, and it is doing so successfully. So what we can do is actually push this to production, actually. So that's easy because all I have to do, thanks to GitOps, is I switch to the production branch. Then I merge the main branch into here, and then I do a git push. And that's all. And CI will do the rest and deploy the latest changes to the production environment. And if I haven't watched the new secrets encryption key, which I shouldn't, then everything should run nicely. But you never know, and I can't remember what I actually did in detail last week, so maybe it's a good idea to quickly check. But I think yeah, I can see in my shell history that I actually grabbed the production key and pushed that as a setting to the production application, so I'm not expecting any issues, actually. That doesn't mean that there won't be any, you never know. But I think we're good. Now, what I need to do is now, actually, I'm getting a little bit confused and a little bit cold because the window is open. Yeah, I think we can close the window. Because it is actually pretty cold. Now, where were we? Yeah, I wanted to grab the new branch name for the final upgrade to 7.2. Here we go. And I have an alias GNB for git new branch. Excuse me. To actually create a new branch, and here I can simply paste what Linear already had prepared for me, which is the upgrade to 7.2 branch. I'm not sure, is chat working correctly? Let's see. If you're in chat, say hi. My Twitch stream health panel is still all over the place. It tells me unstable at 90,000 kilobit. This is really confusing. Now, here's the branch. Okay, so how do we do a Rails upgrade? The way I chose to do it is I'll start the usual way by simply going into our gem file. And here we have Rails 7.15 as the minimum version and pinned to 7.1. And in order to switch to 7.2, I simply enter 7.20. Since it's a pessimistic constraint, it'll pick the highest version in 7.2 that's available, and then I'll actually enter that particular version. So we'll do a bundle update Rails according to the new constraint. And it's going to pull 722.1. So let's enter that. So we have an actual Rails version in here, an official Rails version in here. And now I'm running the Rails app update task, which will make changes to quite a few files. And also overwrite stuff that is in these files for a reason, that I put there for a reason. Yes, when I run the app update task in my container, I need, of course, to bundle install inside the container first too. Not sure if I could run the Rails app update right on my machine without having access to databases and stuff. For this, it might work. So now it's telling me application.rb has conflicts because, yes, of course, my application.rb, which is the very central application configuration for Rails, does differ from the default from a new installation. I'm still telling it to overwrite everything by entering A here. So it overwrites not only this file, but all files that need to be overwritten. And oh no, that's no coincidence. That maintenance mode is entered because there might be database upgrades necessary. There shouldn't be any, and the maintenance mode should be lifted immediately If it's stuck in maintenance mode, that might mean that there is an issue. Let me quickly check how things are looking. Still is, shouldn't be. That would mean it entered maintenance mode, then it got stuck with something and never got to release maintenance mode. So we'll have to take a look at that. Why does my secret setting not work here? Just a second. Stuff is a little bit botched with the stream still. Okay, so I guess let me first take a look at the deployment job for dashboard. The joys of doing it live. Building in public. So, let me see. Pipelines. It says passed. It passed the production's deployment stage. Okay, so it took a little bit longer than expected. So Puffin, hello! Oh, nice of you to join us. I'm finally getting to do another live stream. So, I guess it's good that we are live again with the dashboard. Let me see. Marcus, did you check if it actually works? I suppose so, but let's see. There must be a tab somewhere where I can actually open this directly. Yeah, that looks good. And I can actually log in. Yeah. Okay, so dashboard application is now live at 7.1. That's grand. Let me go back to dev here. Hey Ice! How you going? How you doing? So, here we go. Yeah, we are live on YouTube as well. That works. Now, while I'm at it, let me check why my secret button doesn't work. Oh dear, so many distractions. What is that button configured to do? It's going to toggle the secret group in here. In the okay. That does not work. But why doesn't it? Oh, it... No, huh? Bye, Marcus. Yeah, I haven't been online for quite a while and very spotty in total eyes for various reasons. But I'm still going to stream, so when I had the opportunity today, I decided to do something. However, there are a few things that might have broken when I switched from container-based OBS to Flatpak-based OBS. In this case, actually, I'm not quite sure why I can't enable. My privacy source. Why wouldn't this work? I'll need this probably again later, so I'd like to fix it if possible. So Puffin, I'm going to do an Rails upgrade for our dashboard application to a more modern version. I've been upgrading that through different versions last week, and today I'm going to do the final step for the time being from Rails 7.1 to 7.2, and also demonstrating how I go about things. But at the moment I'm struggling with my stream setup here because I can't enable my privacy source that I need when I have to enter secret stuff, sensitive stuff. And I'm at a loss why that is the case, actually, because naming and things are exactly how they are supposed to work. Set source visibility. And since I can switch between scenes, my companion app that powers my Stream Deck, seems to be talking to OBS. And I think I can mute myself, can't I? Yes. We have an ad break coming up anyway, so... Hey, Balthazar, how are you doing? Welcome to the stack. Yeah, I might simply use the ad break to try and fix this issue. Now, let me see. If I enable this right in OBS. Yeah, that's enabling, but it doesn't show on my Stream Deck either. Something's not right. Okay, let me try and reconnect to OBS. Just so I can be sure that it's not just a connection issue. It is. Huh. How strange. Okay. Well then, that means I can actually switch over to my terminal here. Let's go over here. Now, as you can see, the upgrade script that came with Rails 7.2 made quite a few changes because I let it. I wonder what the changes in the HTML files are, actually. Let me take a look. I'm curious what needed to be changed there. What about the 500? Okay, so they changed the CSS a little. Okay. Okay. Now, usually, my next step is to actually take a diff. So everything that got changed by the upgrade script will be preserved in a diff file. And then I can go through this diff file and step by step apply the changes that need to be made, and I can also drop and ignore the changes that I don't want to be made. For example, stuff that I have customized for a reason getting reverted back to default settings or something like that. Bethesda says I'm still medicating and caffeinating, so I'm a little slow here, but I'm typing to you on my new Keychron keyboard, which has so far been working out pretty darn well. That's great! Which one did you end up with? Thanks for the reminder. I need to get my coffee down as well, which is by now probably cold. Not quite iced coffee, but pretty damn near. Now, I don't want to have to apply the CSS changes in those files, though. So what I'm going to do is I'll apply the changes that I want to take wholesale, which is also probably going to be the config change for Puma. What did they change? That's mostly a huge comment. Then threads count settings. There's nothing in here that I customized, actually. So we can overwrite that. Okay, let me see. So let's add what we can already accept wholesale. Bethesda says it's a Q3, Keychron Q3 Pro SE and a Q0 Max. May I assume that Q0 is a company numpad? Type on a TKL basically with extra macro buttons. Oh, the one with the macro buttons on the left, right, and that huge knob. Okay, and a numpad with 9 extra buttons plus its own rotary encoder. Oh, that's a nice combination. I like it. As you can see, at the moment, I'm using my Model F62 buckling spring keyboard, and having the Doyo macro pad on the side has become a pretty, yeah, it's staying there on my desk now for the time being. I don't use it. I mostly use it when I play Truck Simulator, but from time to time I use it as a normal macro pad as well. But yeah, that's a nice combination, I think. Having something that can accompany a more minimalistic keyboard is actually a nice thing. And hey, congratulations, your knob is almost as big as mine. So we will add bin Rubocop, bin, oh no, bin setup needs to be, No worries, Ice. Thanks for stopping by, and talk soon. We'll use Rubocorp. The whole config stuff needs to be reviewed. We'll use config Puma and everything under public. I will also use the new Brakeman shim. And yeah, that should actually work. And we'll push these to, say, chore, accept Rails, accept simple Rails 7.2 changes. Okay, and now we have everything left that needs to be reviewed. Actually, the gem file and gemfile.lock can be accepted as well. However, I'm not sure, did I actually do a bundle update or bundle install after switching the version to 7.2.2. Let's make sure that's the case. I think that looks good. How about the app container? Let's do a bundle install there as well. Otherwise, I'll get a random change to gemfile.lock later. That looks good, so I can actually add those gemfile changes as well. And so now I think I can amend my previous commit, which leaves all the changes that still need to be reviewed. And what I do to do this is I do a git diff and write that to a file, and then I do a reset hard, which only leaves the new framework default 7.2.rb, and I think I'll add that to the previous commit as well, because that's a new file, so adding that shouldn't hurt either. And even though I have now, by doing the git reset, dropped all the most important changes to the application, I can, of course, retrieve them from the temp file. The temp directory does not appear here because it's in git ignore, so I'll have to open that manually. Temp, what is it called? Update.div. Here we go. And now we'll go into these. Oh, okay. See, that's where I'm a little bit spoiled by having used RubyMine last week, because the nice thing is that RubyMine immediately parses this diff file and lets me switch file by file through this. I'm not sure if NeoVim actually would offer me the same, and I might have to research that, because I'm still trying to find out if I'm more tending to keep using NeoVim for Ruby development, or if I'd rather switch to something more sophisticated or more specialized, to put it this way, such as RubyMine. But for the time being, I'm afraid I need to launch RubyMine, because that's definitely more convenient, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So let me close those two files here. And now I can also see the TMP file directory here. It's marked in brown because it won't be part of the Git repository, but it's still visible in the file tree. That is nice. And when I open the diff file, you can see it has parsed the diff file. All the diff symbols have disappeared. It displays these squiggly lines where there is a break between line 8 and line 17 here. And it has broken the diff up into the different files, and using these arrow icons here, I can switch between those files. So I can see that we're starting with bin setup, which means I can easily open bin setup here. And then we'll take a look at what has changed. It did add an app name here. Interesting. So there is a new. It's a Ruby script, so it's a new constant, and I guess that's used in the comments down here. So I could actually launch Puma Dev here. Okay, it's using Puma Dev now. Interesting. Okay, no harm in adding that. So I will add the variable. It would actually remove the comment here where it's calling yarn, and I think it should actually not be commented out. I think that's something that I missed in previous upgrades. It is actually supposed to run bin yarn. And then it does a Rails restart and adds this comment here. However, since I'm using yarn, I have my own dev server that not only runs the Rails application, but also takes care of recompiling Tailwind CSS files and things like that. So that's actually separate, and that's why in our setup script we don't actually start the Rails server. I guess we can also remove the database sample script, because that's definitely part of the distribution by now. So even though app name isn't used, not even AppRoot is used, and that's why there are squiggly lines here, I guess. It says missing type signature. Interesting. Oh, it's trying to infer types here. Okay, interesting. Now, that's the setup script done. That was easy. And now I can easily switch by clicking the right arrow here, which gets me to config application.rb. Now we are getting into the deeper levels of the application. Config application.rb. That's the actual application setup. It would remove the sprockets rail tie comment. I mean, since that has been deactivated already, I think we can actually get rid of that. And then it'll remove a lot of stuff here, which I would like to keep. And I also would like to keep templates as part of the ignore list for autoload lib. That's there for a reason. And I think we can actually follow this part where we remove the autoload paths. I'll research that, if that is maybe something that has become default in 7.2. We'll definitely need to disable the CSS compressor. That's because we are using Tailwind, and otherwise this will cause issues with the asset pre-compilation, and we'll need to have these extra settings for active model serializers. So I think I'll ignore these removal changes here. Beth, as I said, speaking of playing with new IDEs because of the sheer number of files in the QMK repo, I'm giving Zed a shot right now. Oh, that's a good idea. I've tried Zed as well as a more general purpose editor, and it's pretty decent, definitely. In terms of QMK repo, I will recommend to you following the QMK user space repository approach, where you have a very small repository with only your own files, and QMK will automatically fall back to the main QMK repository for all the other stuff that's necessary. If you like, I can give you a short tour how this works actually. I've switched to the QMK user space repository a while ago, and I'm pretty happy because, yeah, it's much easier to navigate if a repository only has your own customizations and everything else gets pulled from the mainline repo. Okay, so that means no other changes to application.rb. Ah, that's great. You already saw. Okay. Now we have environment.rb, and it actually wants to remove my action mailer configuration. That's of course not going to happen, and since that's the only change in this file, we'll skip right to the next one. And here we have, we're starting with a cosmetic change. There has simply been a period being added to the comment. Well, since I'm a stickler for grammar, I'll be applying that happily. That's environments development. Where did this happen? Yeah, we have periods everywhere here, except in this comment, so it makes sense even for just for consistency's sake. Then we have it remove our server headers, the cache control header here. I think I'd like to keep that. The perform caching setting is actually down here, huh? Oh, no, it's just the comment added. But there, it's apparently it's in there twice. It's in line 31 and 39. Let's see. Okay, there is a caching dev text. If that exists, we set a few things for caching in development. Interesting approach. Otherwise, we switch it to perform caching false. But in 39, we set it to false anyway. Oh, that's action mailer, and up here it's action controller. Okay. That's fine. And here we set it to memory store, and down here we set it to null store, and I'm not sure why there's white space, an empty line in here. I think I'd like to remove that. It would simply remove the file server headers. Okay. Since that's not been added by me, it must have been part of earlier versions. And there must be a reason why they removed that. So I guess it makes sense to remove that as well. I'm not using caching in development anyway. Oh wait, it'll keep the file server headers cache control public. Oh, I see. Okay. I think that just got compacted to a single line. All right, so I guess that's fine. Yeah. Okay, so I'll copy that line. And replace that block here with it. And then there's the else, and down here we now have a nice comment in front of perform caching for action mailer that explains stuff. That's always nice. So then we have added another thing here for the action mailer default URL options. However, those get set down here, which it would of course remove. So that is actually grand. Let's see, we are setting default URL options to localhost 3000. That's the same as we do here. It's just broken up into host and port number. And that's just action mailer actually, and that's here. I set it also for routes default URL options. Interesting. All right, I think we can actually add that before the deprecation notices. That's down here in where we already are dealing with action mailer. We'll keep the default URL options for routes intact. Annotate rendered view with file names true gets enabled by default in development. Oops, no, that wasn't what I wanted to do. So where's that? That's down here. Okay, sounds useful. My access via ngrok rule needs to stay in there. Then we have another comment that simply got a period added, and that's the missing callback actions comment here. Consistency is key, grammar is important. And then we have the autocorrection by Robocop. Interesting. That's a new optional setting here. Right in the development configuration, Robocop gets integrated more tightly by Rails 7.2, apparently. Okay. But not enabled, just as an option. Okay. Now we are in production. Let's see. Here in production, scroll to the top. Let's close development. It does actually disable the require master key. Ensures that a master key has been available. The key is used to decrypt credentials. And I think we need to require the master key because we are actually using it. So I'll keep that enabled. Same for config assume SSL. which is a nice addition, as it says, can be used together with config force SSL, and we do set that true. Once again, we set the default URL options here. We set up email and log rage. Not sure if I'm still using log rage actually, but we'll keep that in there. We're not removing that as the patch here recommends. Then we have a new set of comments here for line 46. Skip HTTP to HTTPS redirect for the default health check endpoint. Ah, okay, so we can actually call the health check endpoint /up using HTTP without getting redirected to SSL, which might be helpful as I figure to do a health check without relying on an SSL certificate. So, for example, if we fail to renew our SSL certificate, the HTTP health check would still say, okay, the application itself is up and running. We'd still have to test the SSL endpoint on top of that to make sure that we actually are running a valid certificate. But I can see why you might want to disable SSL redirection for the endpoint. It's only a suggestion, so we'll add that as a comment block in line 46. That's before we set the default URL. Is it? It's actually after that, and after setting up email and stuff. Okay. Wait, that's actually after setting up log rage here. Okay. Now, in terms of logging, it does not do the tagged formatting anymore. Interesting. Or is that just that it removes the indentation here? Yeah. Oh yeah, I can see it now. It's the same code, but indented differently. Not sure if Rubocop won't complain about this. We'll see. Let's see if Rubocop will actually accept that. Oop, that's all? That can't be it. No, that's just the 2 spaces indentation. Like this. Methods ask questions. With today's pattern of stick a reverse proxy in front of your app to terminate TLS, do you still see value in app server controlled HTTP redirection to HTTPS? I guess it's a belt and suspenders approach. Yeah, I would probably expect there to be a reverse proxy in front. Some people don't even do HTTP anymore. Just the other day I saw that where there was only an SSL port open for a specific application environment. I don't know where I saw it, but it made me do a double take because I thought, well, wait, how do you bootstrap SSL then? But then I remembered that we are doing the same on our hosting platform actually, where our edge routers first create a self-signed certificate, so there is SSL, even though it's not production ready. And Let's Encrypt will then access the website using that self-signed certificate. They don't validate the certificate for the validation, for the ownership validation, I guess. They don't validate that self-signed certificate, but it'll enable them to connect. And then they see, okay, they get the right challenge response. And then they issue the actual Let's Encrypt certificate, and our edge routers then reconfigure themselves automatically to use that. And that's basically, I guess, how Caddy and other reverse proxies that support Let's Encrypt work as well. So you could actually run your reverse proxy without port 80 in the first place. I'm a little bit more conservative, to be honest. And I keep port 80 open, but yeah, if I don't redirect right at this stage, I expect the application to do the redirect for me. And I mean, letting the application do it, as we saw in the configuration that we looked at earlier, makes things a little bit more flexible, because I can tell the application to not do the forced SSL redirect for specific URL paths like the health check. Praxeus, hello! So nice of you to stop by. I'm happy to see everyone. Sorry for cancelling last night's TSR hangout, but I was too tired. I had to get up for a while the night before, and I was completely destroyed. By 2 or 3 p.m., I was basically useless, and I knew I won't hold up for long in a video call at night. And so I decided to not enter a hangout in that state. I'd rather postpone it by a week. So next Tuesday is going to be our TSR hangout, where you can have any tea you like. Praxeus is definitely going to present us with his tea of the day. And if you are not familiar with TSR, that's the server room. My community of practice, a membership community that while it requires a membership fee, it's a very moderate one, and apart from that, it is definitely very inclusive, very open for everyone who wants to get better at DevOps and SRE. So if that's what you want, maybe you want to level up from software engineering to SRE, get a new job in DevOps, something like that, then the server room is definitely something that can help you with that, because there are lots of people who have been practicing DevOps practices or site reliability engineering for quite a while and are more than happy to share their experience and skills. Praxeus says need to start working on his Technician support setup, which is a lightweight DNS server. Definitely something very much in the DevOps space as well. Now, let's get those config files patched. There is another comment here for the perform caching. That's nice, having these documentary comments in there. Then we skip down here. It removes the active support deprecation setting in favor of not log any deprecations. And yeah, that actually makes sense, because in production we shouldn't have to deal with deprecations. Well, we are running Honeybadger as our error notification service, so there might be some merit of doing that, but then I guess we'd have to set report deprecations to true. And since we don't do that, I think we can remove that deprecation thing as well. Where is that? That's here. That's more a thing we should do in development. Then we have a config log formatter. Didn't we set that up here? Yeah, so I think that's a something that I should have cleaned up earlier. That probably got overlooked in a previous upgrade. The whole logging setup happens up here. So, yeah, that's definitely extraneous. And then we have only use ID for inspections in production. Oh, that's new. Okay. And it's an actual setting. Interesting. Okay. And the DNS rebinding protection. Okay. That basically pins the host names that are allowed for this application. I guess DNS rebinding must be something where the application is forced to respond on a different domain name than it's supposed to. And here we actually pin it to only respond to example.com and any subdomain of that. I think we're already doing something like that up here, don't we? These are the default URL options, but that's not quite the same. Okay, that's something to consider. And then we exclude the health check from the host authorization. And I guess that's because should we enable this setting, we would be able to call the health check from localhost and access the application from localhost/up. If we actually force the production domain names for the health check, we would only be able to call the health check with the official domain name, and I guess that's why there is an option to exclude this enforced domain name from the authorization, from the health check. Okay. Question is, should we actually pin our domain name here? That's definitely something to consider. For the time being, I'm not going to enable it because I just want to see this working first before we tighten some bolts there. But yeah, okay, so that's production RB done. What's next? Test, of course. Yeah. I don't expect there to be many changes. It'll remove the public file server enabled and just replace it with file server headers, a single line. That's fair. I guess file server must be enabled by default now. So we'll make this a one-liner. Then we'll replace the exception templates. And it sets show exceptions from rescuable to false. Interesting. I trust the Rails team to do the right thing there. Where is that? Show exceptions is set to false. And we reset it to rescuable. Okay. So we can replace this. Render exception templates for rescuable exceptions and raise for other exceptions. Oh, nice. Okay. So then setting a host name for URL helpers and action mailer views. That's something I set in the past, but I'm not even sure dashboardapi.dev is not something I'm using anymore. So that might actually be completely obsolete by now. And I'll follow the diffs recommendation to remove that. Randomizing test cases is, I think, a good practice that I'd like to keep in there for the test environment. And then we have a comment for perform caching again. Yeah, that seems to have been missing in 7.1 throughout the environments. And then we have the action mailer default URL options. And it says you'll need to provide the host parameter yourself. And I think that's something we are doing actually at some point. No? Interesting. Okay. Is that new? Yeah, it's new. And apparently, even in test, this needs to be set to the future main domain. Unlike controls, the mailer instance doesn't have any context about the incoming request. Is that for... Did they add incoming mail handling to action mailer? Is that the reason? We're not using that, but hey, we might be in the future. So in line 43, before support deprecation, here, we'll set the default URL options for action mailer. Interestingly, we haven't done that, even though we do set default URL options for the different, for the other environments. Where did we do that? Action mailer, default URL options. Here we are setting localhost. Okay, I think that's new as well, though. Okay. It's these things that I spent most of my time with last week. Doing the actual upgrade has been quite easy, but going through all these options and trying to understand them or even reading up on them was definitely taking up 80% of my time. But at the end of the week, I also had the feeling that I've learned so much about modern Rails features that I finished the week with a feeling that I'm much better equipped for doing Rails development now. It feels like I'm really catching up to things after having stalled for, I guess, years. So it's a good thing to actually question these settings and try to determine their relevance, because it really makes it easier to take advantage of modern Rails features. So finally we have another period bit getting added here, and that should be it. That's test RB done. Let's go to the next file. That's assets.rb. It wants to remove this comment where we do add node modules to the asset paths. This is commented out and it actually does not make any sense to me in the first place. So yeah, let's go into, what is it? Initializers, assets. All right. And then it wants to basically remove my actual configuration where we do include Tailwind CSS in the asset precompile phase with those two examples and a comment. So that'll stay as it is. Next file is filter parameter logging, where they inserted email as something that's not supposed to get logged. Yeah, in terms of GDPR, that's a good idea. So we will change the filter parameter logging file. And that was it. There is no next file here. We did actually go through the whole diff and make the necessary changes. Now I have already a terminal down here. I actually have a commit pane here. And I guess we'll commit this as chore adopt new Rails 7.2 settings. Let's commit that, which means working tree is clean now. Okay, final step. We are using the defaults for Rails 7.0. Even though the application has been upgraded to 7.1, we are using the defaults for 7.0. And in framework defaults 7.1, there are still a few settings that needed to be reviewed. That's how Rails works. You set a default version whose default values are supposed to be active, and then you can step by step enable the latest version's features. And so it's a good idea to review that and decide if we still need these exceptions that are in here. And all the ones that are already active are following a Rails 7.1 default. Only those that are still commented out need to be reviewed. And so I guess active record encryption hash digest class. If you have config active support key generator hash digest class configured as SHA-256, the new default in 7.1, and since we have enabled the 7.1 defaults, that's actually the case for us, then you need to configure SHA-256 for active record encryption. We are not using active record encryption yet, but I definitely intend to use it because there are a few things that I'd like to store in the database encrypted. So we will actually enable that. If you don't have currently have data encrypted with active record, you can disable this setting to configure the default behavior starting 7.1. Support SHA-1 for non-deterministic encryption. That's false, so I guess we are good. But still, I guess we can still leave this enabled because if at all, it will use the default anyway. So all these things are enabled here. Interesting. There aren't even any exceptions anymore. Okay. Oh, there is one. Rails application config active record marshalling format version that serializes active record models in a faster and more compact way. To perform a rolling deploy of a Rails 7.1 upgrade, wherein servers that have not been upgraded must be able to read caches from upgraded servers. Leave this optimization off on the first deploy, then enable it on a subsequent deploy. This is going to be a subsequent deploy anyway, and we haven't been using caching, so we could have enabled this from the get-go. Those are already enabled. Here is something, please read carefully. This must be configured in application RB. It's the cache format. Another cache setting that isn't really relevant for us. Then we have this enabled. Here's another one that's not enabled. Configure action text to use an HTML standards compliant sanitizer. I don't think we have action text enabled at all, so we can't actually use that settings. I think that'll throw an error if we even enable it. But I guess that'll be handled by us upgrading to 7.1 defaults anyway, which I think, yep, I'm at the end of the file. Everything is enabled. So what I'm going to do is actually remove this file because it doesn't contain any exceptions anymore. Everything that's default now in 7.1 has already been enabled anyway. So we can delete this file and actually go into application.rb and switch on 7.1 defaults. I guess that's a good point to run tests again. And hello, Full of Snowball. How you doing? That means we are running defaults from 7.1, which is already deployed and in place in production. Pixel Buttercup, long time no see. How you doing? I mean, I'm not complaining at all because I'm the main reason that there wasn't any opportunity to talk, but it's nice to see you stopping by. I'm great. Didn't find the time and energy recently to do streams, but today I actually took the opportunity. Yesterday I actually wanted to stream, but I was completely exhausted from having to get up at night. So I said, okay, I had planned to do a live stream. If I can't do it today, I'll do it tomorrow, and here we are. I hope you're doing great as well. So now we are using 7.1 defaults and 7.2, which is now our current version, at least in development here, is suggesting enabling a lot more defaults. And if I don't want to enable those in one fell swoop by simply changing this to 7.2, I can do it feature by feature in this file. That's the purpose of these files. I can go through these things, enable them one by one, see if something breaks, and once I've enabled them all, we have actually enabled the 7.2 defaults, and so I can throw this file away and simply switch to 7.2 as the value of our default values. And that's that. But for the time being, I'll leave this as it is. We'll use the 7.1 defaults without any 7.2 defaults. And now it's time to actually run tests. And here in RubyMine, that's easy because I've already defined that as a task. So I can simply say test suite, run, and it's going to spawn a new test run using the containers that I've defined. Rubocop is happy, Rails best practices is happy, Brakeman is happy, which only leaves our test suite in RSpec. And of course, that's much nicer in RubyMine to having this digested as it is. It parses the output of RSpec and tells me how many tests we already passed, and it only shows the tests it's currently running. So this is very convenient. Ooh, okay, interesting. There's something that broke. I wonder why. Oh, there are quite a few that are actually broke. Okay. I wonder what might have happened there. Let's catch up with chat. Pixel Pottercup says, I'm doing great, going to Spain this weekend. Oh, I am so envious. It's cold outside here in Ireland, and it's actually getting foggy, as it seems. It's really cold. Spain must be really nice at this time of year. It's probably, what is it at the moment? 18 degrees? Something like that? I wish I had the funds to spend winter in a place like Spain and then simply return to Ireland once I enjoy the weather again. Congrats on getting to spend some time in Spain. I hope it's vacations though and not for work. And you're learning Ruby, that's amazing! You enjoyed the experience. Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, I still enjoy Ruby a lot. I really love it. I'm still in the first steps of learning Go, because that is something that might complement Ruby quite nicely, but I'm pretty sure Ruby is going to stay my bread and butter language for the time being. Any tips on how to streamline your learning process? You mean in terms of Ruby? No, I guess it's, as always, do a project that you like, or maybe the one that you have to do, and learn by practicing. I mean, there are quite a few good books that I can recommend, and if you need one, just let me know what you're interested in specifically. But other than that, just go for it. Once you are a little bit more proficient in Ruby, I will recommend reading Object-Oriented Design in Ruby by Sandy Metz. That's one of the most recommended books in Ruby worldwide, and I'll agree with that recommendation. It really elevated my Ruby knowledge, but it's a little bit more intermediate to advanced, so just get acquainted and familiar with the language first. Oh, your family lives in Spain. Okay. And you live in Ireland too? Oh, I didn't remember. You might have already told me in the past, but I didn't know. Okay, so yeah, you know what I'm referring to in terms of weather. Hopefully you weren't affected by the recent downpours. Over here at the East Coast, we've been spared, fortunately, and our house is a little bit elevated already, so I'm not afraid of any floods at this point. But yeah, Spain is a nice change of scenery. Bethesda says, I've been slinging a lot more Go here recently. Okay. So we'll have to add a Go forum to the TSR forum. TSR, of course, being the server room, my community of practice. You are invited to join us. The membership fee is moderate, and you'll get a lot of value in return. And I have to apologize to all my members. I have not been able to arrange any events lately, and it hurts me to realize that. I'll definitely try and get back on track doing that. But if it's just benefiting from other people's experience in the DevOps or SecOps or SRE space, then TSR is definitely still a great value for money. So if you'd like to join us and maybe even start populating the soon to be created Go forum, then join us. Okay, so Balthasar goes on. Currently working on a PR for Incus to add DNS01 support to its Lego implementation for grabbing certs from Let's Encrypt. Lego, interesting name. Okay. Oh, that's brilliant. You're participating in Incus. That's awesome. Open source for the win. Pixel Buttercup says, what I am building is kind of a small framework to build APIs. I know Rails API work, but I want to build my own. That's valid. That's valid. That's a great opportunity to learn. It helps a lot on learning the language. Yeah, and I think especially with APIs, the Ruby syntax is actually really, really helpful. There are a lot of idioms that lend themselves greatly to creating API code. Fullsnapper says, speaking of weather here, kind of cold now in Norway. Yeah. Wouldn't expect anything else. Actually, that's a complete tangent, but I'm subscribed on YouTube to a channel by a woman that calls her channel Rails Cowgirl, and it's not related to Ruby on Rails. It's actually someone who drives trains across Norway, and those videos where she simply records a long train ride through snowy landscapes in Norway from the conductor's cabin. I can't imagine anything more relaxing. I actually used to sit here and watch those videos with my little son, and we had a great time. It was so cozy. We sat there and basically joined the train driver driving through those snowy landscapes. And yeah, that's definitely something that we're going to repeat soon, maybe on the weekend. Alex joining us, saying good evening. Good evening to you, Alex. Nice of you to join us. Bethesda says, toy systems are fantastic for getting better appreciation of the language. Don't leverage them in production generally, but I agree, fantastic for the exercise. Yep. Alex asks, why do some companies value open source contributions of the potential job candidates so much? I guess... well, two main reasons come to mind. The one might be ideological, because the company really values open source. So they value if someone contributes to open source. I would probably count myself in that group, because my whole business is built on open source. We are hosting applications, namely WordPress and Drupal, which are open source. Which in turn are based on open source technology, PHP, MySQL, and so on. We are using lots of open source software to run our hosting platform. We are running Nginx. We are running Memcached. We are running Apache Solr. Many things. We are automating our infrastructure, hundreds of Linux servers using Chef, which is in turn open source software, or at least Sync, which is fully open source software, other than Chef by now. Rebooting brain, please stand by. Ideology might be the first thing, and combined with that, idealism, of course, because open source is a very idealistic thing as well. And then, of course, and I think that's what Balthasar is hinting at, it's a very good way to see how you interact with folks, especially if you have no prior working relationship with them. Oh no, that's a third thing. The other thing that I was going to point out was open source software is, of course, a great way to take a look at what you've been doing so far. If you have repositories on GitHub that are public because they are open source, it's a nice way to Pixel Buttercup, thank you so much. That's very kind of you, spending your Prime subscription for me. That's very kind. Makes me very happy. What I was about to say was with projects that you've been doing in your previous job, you might be able to tell a few things about them, but oftentimes they are proprietary and you are not in no position to share actual code from that job. So with open source software, that's completely different. That's public anyway, and it allows insight into your code quality, into your approaches, into your coding skills in a particular language and things like that. Even just having insight into how you commit code, how you structure your Git history and things like that. These are all interesting information that can factor in you getting hired or not. So that would be the two reasons that I would point out. And Balthasar made a good third point. If you are participating in an open source project, that also gives insight into how you deal with other people, how again, you submit merge requests and things like that, how you deal maybe with merge request criticisms or even rejections. That's, of course, another way to gauge how you will perform as a member of your future team. Maybe other people in chat can add more reasons even, but those are, I think, very valid ones already. Pixel Buttercup says, I started my career as a Node developer, did not want to get caught up in the ecosystem, so I decided to learn more technologies of my own. My main stack is still Node and GCP, but I'm slowly transitioning to other kind of stuff. That's amazing. Yeah, get that T-shape on. Alex says, I see. Makes more sense. Thanks for your answer. Happy to answer questions anytime. That's why we are here. My fan has spun up, and that means CO2 concentration has become too high. We are at 1400 ppm in here. I have to open the window even though it's freezing. Let's let that fan blow in some fresh air quickly, and then we'll shut the window again. Balthasar's right. I didn't notice because I was so focused on chat text, but yeah, that Buttercup avatar is amazing, of course. Powerpuff Girls for the win. All right, so where are we stuck? Yeah, we had a lot of failures here, a lot in compared to usual when there are no failures. There's quite a dozen or so failures, so we definitely need to check this out. Oh, look at that. Okay, so I guess all these errors are for the same reason. It says missing host to link to. Please provide the host parameter. Set default URL options host, or set only path to true. Okay, so that's a direct consequence of me tinkering with application configuration. We made a change to the test environment that did not go over well. We probably removed the default URL options, thinking they would be default. I can either set the default URL options in application configuration, or I can set only path, which is an argument to I don't know exactly what call, on a per call basis. I'm not going to do the latter. We'll fix the default URL options host for test. Interesting. So let's go to environments test. I should be able to get a diff, right? Show diff here. but we'll have to go back in history a little bit, not diff the file itself to itself. How do I do that? I haven't been using the Git features of RubyMine intensively yet, so it's a good idea to actually start practicing that. Now, how do I diff a previous version? There's a lock sign in front of the SHA? Does that mean I can't change? Maybe diff is not what I needed here. Let's see, that's the div view. Maybe, can I? Local history, show history. Oh yes, that's more like it. So now, that's still the file itself. Here we go. Now we are introducing changes. Here we just changed the comment, and here we are changing the default URL options. They were... Oh, that's a manual change. Okay. Here's an external change. Here we have the default URL options. Oh, where we set the dashboard API.dev. And I removed that because it didn't make sense, because we're not even using that domain in testing. But I guess I should at least set it to some value, if not to dashboard API.dev, which I think goes back to when I still was using that test web server, wasn't it? From 37 Signals, even, where you got the .dev domain for local stuff. Now .dev is actually a TLD, so .dev shouldn't be used anyway, but I guess I would like to accept that into current. And is that even what I'm looking for? Let's see. We'll copy that over. Guess by now I can actually change that. We'll set it to localhost for lack of a better alternative. Now let's run those tests again. I'm not sure if... Oh yeah, it's not the mailer setting here, but the default URL options for application routes. I guess I'll keep the second row here as well, setting the action mailer settings to the same. Settings. And I'm inclined to use the same syntax as well, not overwriting the complete settings hash here, but overwriting the host key alone. It might end up being the same, might not. I think it's more clean that way. So let's run that test suite again and see if those two additional settings fix our tests. Pixel Buttercup says, anyways, now moving more into a tech lead plus DevOps role in my team, so know that much JavaScript and a lot more YAML, shell, pipeline, and solution design. Yep, definitely. That's DevOps for you. Now something is broken completely, which I do hate. And I'm afraid it was the latest change, huh? Error occurred. Test RB line 8 or 36. Yeah, okay. All right then. Dear. I went too far. So yeah, Pixel Buttercup, if you're getting into tech lead stuff and DevOps, please consider joining us on the server room. That's the main goal of our community, to help people like you level up in DevOps and SRE. And you can always start at the bronze level, which is basically the cost of a Twitch subscription. You'll support me even more than with a subscription, and you'll definitely get something of value back in terms of having access to a community of experienced people. And once I get my ass in gear and actually find the time, you'll definitely get even more in terms of community events and things like that. For example, our community hangout, which didn't happen last night because I was so tired. I postponed it by a week. So Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. UTC. No, wait, I am in UTC at the moment. So it's 8 p.m. UTC. We are going to have our monthly hangout, the last one for this year, not forever. And that's always a great opportunity to catch up with people, to have a chat, to talk about all kinds of things. It's completely open. It's not just talking shop about DevOps and stuff. We can talk about all kinds of things, learn the latest tea that Proxeus has purchased, and all other kinds of stuff. So now, by setting these two settings properly again, my test suite is actually successful again. So I guess we could consider this upgrade to Rails 7.2 successful. C-Films, hello! Hope you're doing great. And I'm actually going to commit these changes as well. Sure. Finalize. Upgrade to Rails 7.2. Well, it's not yet finalized. We are still using defaults from 7.1. We'll say we'll call it finalize. We are going to run Rails 7.2, albeit with defaults from Rails 7.1, but in terms of software, we are actually 7.2. So let's commit this and actually push it as well. So that's what we are going to push here. Yep, makes perfect sense. We'll push this. Because next we can actually create a merge request. Upgrade to Rails 7.2. I'll add myself as a reviewer. and we'll create that merge request. Nice. So even though we might still have to make some changes, the merge request is already underway, and that also means that the test pipeline on GitLab is going to kick into gear, so we'll get some additional quality feedback there. CFilms, the Rails are not quite for a train, but more for an application. We are talking Ruby on Rails. But I can see where you're coming from. I guess it's the time to once again think about model trains and things like that. Alrighty. While GitLab runs our new application version through its tests, let's take a look at the defaults in 7.2. What's happening here? I don't need a diff. I just want to open the file itself. Wait, what's happening here? Why is it why is it? Oh, yeah, okay. That's the merge request view here. Thanks to the GitLab integration of RubyMine, which is another advantage, I guess, over NeoVim. NeoVim has no direct integration into GitLab. I wanted to open the framework defaults right from the file system, and that gets me into the editor, as I expected. I really like GitLab. It's definitely a good alternative to GitHub. So let's take a look at our defaults that are not yet set. Let me close the window first because I'm starting to freeze at the feet. I also probably should get something to drink that's a little bit warmer than my ice-cold coffee now, which is now empty. Let's see if there's anything that is even relevant for me. Oops. Now, we have a new setting, Rails application config, active job and queue after transaction commit. Controls whether active jobs perform later and similar methods automatically defer the job queuing to after the current active record transaction is committed. Example topic transaction do topic create, new topic notification job perform later. So we are actually triggering a job, an asynchronous job inside a transaction, and that will defer this job from getting executed or getting queued, I guess, until after the transaction has actually committed, which means it has actually finished successfully. That is actually a good thing. I can see why they added that, because otherwise you would maybe spawn a job after or before the transaction actually gets finished, and then the transaction might actually break and roll back. And then you have an asynchronous job lying around that might expect different data than we actually have. So that does make sense. CFilm says, I've been trying out some code review tools, CodeClimate and Codacy. I'm not familiar with Codacy, but I did use CodeClimate in the past, and I really liked it. What do you think about CodeClimate? It didn't add a lot to my experience on top of the test tools that I'm already running, because I guess CodeClimate was actually running the same tools that I have already integrated in my test suite and in our CI. So it didn't add anything relevant to my testing experience, and so I didn't want to pay for it anymore. But it's definitely valuable, and it's definitely a quick way to get to very good quality assurance tools. So in this example, if the configuration is set to never, the job will be enqueued immediately, even though the topic hasn't been committed yet. Because of this, the job is picked up almost immediately. If the job is picked up almost immediately, or if the transaction doesn't succeed for some reason, the job will fail to find this topic in the database. Yes, yeah, because they are passing the topic from this local object into the job, and the object might not actually get persisted in the database, and so the job will fail because it'll not be able to find the data to this topic. So that does make a lot of sense. I don't think we are using notifications or jobs in transactions yet, so I'm happy to enable that. It's not going to break anything for me. Now, here we have adds image WebP to the list of content types active storage considers as an image. That makes perfect sense. I'm just not sure. I don't think we have active storage enabled in the first place. So by enabling this default, which I'm happy to do so, might actually break things. But we'll see that quite quickly. Then we have enable validation of migration timestamps. Oh, interesting. This is done to prevent forward dating of migrations. Yeah, that does make sense, and I don't think we have anything like that, and that's definitely not a practice we've been applying here. Then we have the PostgreSQL adapter. Should decode dates automatically with manual queries. So if we call something like select value here, we can actually get that converted to a date by Postgres itself. Yeah, if that's a default, I'm happy to accept that. I've never done that, actually. And then we have enabled YJIT as of Ruby 3.3 to bring sizable performance improvements. That's a huge settings, actually. While these settings here and above were pretty niche things that I'm more than happy to enable, YJIT is definitely something. So that's the just-in-time compiler for Ruby that definitely is known to bring sizable performance improvement. If you are deploying to a memory-constrained environment, you want to set this to false. I'm actually not sure how much memory we have in our or on our Heroku dynos, so I might actually keep that off for the time being. That's the only setting I will disable, and I think we are actually not yet running Ruby 3.3. I think everything is still set to Ruby 3.2, right? Yeah, we are using 3.2.4, so YJIT isn't even available yet. We will have to upgrade to Ruby 3.3 eventually anyway, because it is available on Heroku. I'm just not sure about the memory constraints here. So what I am going to do actually, since we were able to enable these few settings up here, which are going to be the 7.2 defaults, I will set the YJIT configuration to false in our application RB. And then we can actually remove this file and set the application defaults to version 7.2. Let's go here where we say Rails application config load defaults, so and so and so. We'll copy this here and say config widget false. First, we'll run this, I guess. No, we'll do exactly what I just said. I'll remove this file. And then I go into application RB, where we will enable all defaults for 7.2, and we will overwrite the widget setting here. So we don't run into memory issues. And with that, this will actually be the final step in upgrading to 7.2. With that, we are up to date and can focus on more business logic, to the business side logic. No, to the business logic side of things. I'm struggling to talk. Where are we in time? Yeah, it's 4:30, so no wonder I'm deteriorating. Now, with these new settings, let's launch the test suite again. Let's launch the test suite again. Apologies. Actually, why is there no music anymore? Just looking at my Twitch stream health indicator, and it says unstable at 273,000 kilobit per second. I am sorry for not streaming at 273,000 kilobit. That would provide you with great quality, I'm sure, but yeah. I don't think I'll have the bandwidth to do that. And ads are rolling. Now, test suite finished successfully, but I'll wait until the ad is over. All right. Full upgrade to 7.2. Love it. Hmm. "40 seconds to go. You know what? Let's switch on the office heater. And we are back from the ad break. CFM said, CodeClimate is good at finding code duplicates, but needs more tests for other things. Codacy does a lot of style checks. Also, it checks for security issues. That's useful. Codacy checks for more things than CodeClimate, but does not check for duplicates. Okay, so yeah, that's always the thing, isn't it? When you have two alternative tools and one tool does these kinds of things with quite a bit of overlap with the other tool, but then again, it doesn't do everything that's in the union of the two tools. So in the end, you might end up running both tools simply to get the full feature set, which of course is always a cost issue. All right, so we have successfully finished the test suite with full 7.2 settings, which means we can commit that as well and add it to the already existing merge request. This is another chore. Apply full set of Rails 7.2 defaults. Commit and push. Bada boom. And this will be reflected in our merge request. I hope the pipeline, the CI pipeline, is as successful as my local tests here. You're using the free versions of both. Of course, there are free versions as well. Yeah, makes sense. Then you'll actually be able to run both. There's just a little bit of duplication between the two then. But once you fixed the stuff that one of the tools reports, then you can go on and fix the remaining ones in the other tool. Good stuff. I guess that's a good point to wrap things up, actually. Yeah, I guess we have actually successfully achieved today's goal by reaching full 7.2 compatibility. The upgrade is in the can, as far as I can tell. What are these notifications here? Yeah, okay, these are just ongoing stuff. Okay, clear all. And that, I guess, is a good point for me to wrap up not only the stream, but also my workday. And I'll be back tomorrow. The plan is to do my office hour at 2 p.m. Irish time, which I guess is also 2 p.m. UTC. And office hour means you come with questions and hopefully go with good answers that I was able to provide you with. And we'll do that until there are no questions anymore. And then again, consider joining our Discord. You'll also be able to join us on the TSR Hangout that we are going to do Tuesday next week. I'll open that not only to TSR members, but also to Discord members. And other than that, yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. We can actually look for someone who we can raid. And other than that, I hope to talk to you tomorrow. If you have any questions about DevOps, SRE, system administration, Linux, or stuff like that, then bring them. Bring them to my office hour. I don't think anyone I'm following is online at this time. But we can always hop over to, say, Dylan and say hello to Dylan. If you like, you can use the !raid command. Copy the text that gets displayed there, and we will paste that to Dylan's chat. And say hello for me over there, and until next time, take care. Let's start the raid. See ya.